Hi, buddy. We are live. This is Arsenal Fan Circle, Season 2, Episode 25. Um, I have with me Mahir, as always, from Gundam News. Check out Gundam News. He does have a YouTube channel as well. Welcome, Mahir.
Thanks, Ray, our host, your co-host here, and two of our regulars. Lovely to
Yeah.
have Stan and Ron with us.
Well, take the mic. Introduce Dan and Rohan. Mahir, that's you. Threw a curveball right there. Introduce Dan and Rohan.
Two guys that have been with us a very long time now. Two regulars on the show. We love having them on. As per usual, welcome Stan, Rohan. You guys can go check out their YouTube channels as well. Their Twitter handles as well. I'll include that in the description. And it's just good to have you guys all with us.
Cheers.
Excellent audition. Mahir, you're going to take over a show one of these days. You'll be the host, and I'll be the co-host. How about that?
Now we need you around though, Ray. We need you around though.
Yeah, I'll be here. I'm not an absentee. Noe, thanks for joining us last Thursday, and I appreciate seeing the faces around, new faces, old faces. Everyone's welcome. And Alex from Cannon Fodder, thanks for joining in, Alex. Throw in your comments, questions. We're going to do some trivia later. It'll be a good show. That's right. I was going to say that, Alex. 1/3 of the mafia is there, so and the man, the 1/3 of the mafia.
Yeah.
You're not a third. You're a third.
Third.
You know the Irish people, they just drop the H all the time.
Yeah.
So welcome in. We have 6 viewers in the live chats already. So get involved, folks. We're going to be here for a little over an hour. Rohan, any news, any Arsenal-related news? I see none of the players tested positive for the virus. So you have a clean bill of health.
Yeah. So no new news of anyone testing positive, and that's no news is good news. In fact, we've heard that they're tested negative, most of them. So isolation continues, and let's hope that all of them are safe. And I know that these guys are high energy, high octane guys, so they probably feel super down being in, but they need to get through this for their safety, for the fans' safety, for everyone's safety, because if they are out, people are going to gather, and you don't want this sort of situation. There was a lapse in judgment, I think, by Rice and Mason Mount, who sort of went out for a five-a-side. Probably avoid that. But yeah, I mean, that's good news, and hopefully Arteta is doing well.
Yeah, we don't know how long, Stan. We don't know how long the players have to keep themselves fit, but we're starting to see little videos here and there. Aubameyang, his gym. He's got a gym at home. I wish I could fit one of those in that size in my house.
I was just wondering that initially they said that they would be isolating for 2 weeks. Has that been extended, and if not, what happens as we get to the end of that 2 weeks? Does that mean they just then go training as a group?
Yeah, I think we're in uncharted territory there. I certainly couldn't answer that question.
So I think my opinion is that even though they might test negative and they might be done with the period, but there's like other people who are still going in there, right? Like who are going into that period, or who are going into this situation. So given all of that, they still need to be in unless they're given those guidelines. I'm sure that this is included in their contracts. Again, they have these things about their safety and their well-being, because they're assets, mainly their assets, right? So this probably continues for a while.
And that's the way the club sees them as well. But shout out to you, Rohan. Rohit has given you hi guys, Rohan, great updates.
Welcome.
So kudos to you, Rohan. A little bit of thing going around on Twitter that if Aubameyang would be moving on to Barcelona, possibly we could entertain a swap with Griezmann.
Oh, wow.
No,
That
could
would
work.
not be. I mean, if Aubameyang is hell bent on leaving, I wouldn't be against having Griezmann in the camp.
oh no, I wouldn't. I mean, I wouldn't be against that at all either. I
I
was
think he might actually, Maher, I think he might actually adapt to our play a little bit better as well.
I mean, I've always wanted Griezmann at Arsenal. I thought about this quite a long time ago. Also, they are saying maybe Umtiti swap um for Aubameyang.
Yeah. Stan, I kind of agree with you. You're a little bit hot on a certain striker from Celtic,
Yeah,
and I think his goal record in the Scottish League is quite well proven in the
yeah.
Scottish League, right?
22 years of age, a young man called Odsonne Edouard, who plays for Celtic. And he's been doing very well up there as well. In the 2017-18 season, he played in 22 matches in the Scottish Premiership, scored 9 goals, 2 assists. The following year, he played 32 games, scored 15 goals, 5 assists. And then this season, he played in 27 games, 22 goals, and 7 assists. So at 22 years of age, you see that he is kind of, his stats are improving. And he's at an age where I think, playing at Celtic and moving from Celtic to Arsenal, I think for someone like him, he'd be gettable and he would probably still deem that as a step up coming
Yeah,
to
and
Arsenal.
being a young player, I think there's room for him to grow as well, Stan,
Yeah.
and get better year on year.
I mean, his transfer value is around 16 million euros, but you'd have to probably pay double that because he's under contract. But he came up on my radar because the pub here in Vancouver, where we watch the Arsenal games, we also share the pub with the Celtic Vancouver Supporters Club. And a lot of times the games are coinciding at the same time, especially in the Europa League. And, by default, I've seen quite a lot of this guy play, and he scores on a regular basis. He seems to always be involved. And the Celtic supporters that I've spoken to about him, they say that he's probably the best striker that they've had since Henrik Larsson.
Yeah, which is high praise indeed. I mean,
That's quite a compliment.
Yeah, quite a compliment. We all know how good Henrik Larsson was for Celtic. Glenn is against selling Aubameyang. Just to come back to Aubameyang for a second, unless you would get Messi for the deal. And Noe said wouldn't mind getting Griezmann for Aubameyang, and Griezmann's a little bit younger as well, so we would be upgrading in that sense of age as well. But I think a lot of this is up in the air until Tony, welcome in.
How's it going?
Thanks for joining us. Now we have a motley crew here.
Yeah, well, our chief scout up there, Stan.
Oh, yeah.
Maher, any other news out there? Like there has been talk about Willian possibly coming to Arsenal as well. Would you be interested in a Willian?
For me, not actually. We should be looking at either a mixture of young and experienced players. So I know, as good as Willian is on the wing, for me, you know what? I'm tired of us getting or buying players rather from rival teams that are finished, man, as per se. I wouldn't be against Willian for maybe a season, but the reason why he's not extending his contract with Chelsea is they offered him a 2-year deal and he wanted a 3-year deal. So, yeah, he's on our radar as well as the ham roll from down the road, and as well as, if I'm not mistaken, Manchester United.
Tony, you shouted at me about a defender.
Yeah,
a little bit earlier.
Evan and Dick, yeah, left-footed center back from Frankfurt.
Yeah, these are all possibles, right? What do you think the chances are with that one, Tony? Is it more of a story, more of a news rag story, or there's actually something behind it, you think?
I had no idea at this point.
What was his name?
Evan and Dicka.
Okay.
I also heard about it.
But just what you were saying about Willian, though, just to go back there a moment, Ray. When I'm hearing players such as Willian being mentioned, I always think to myself, well, if we got this player, would they be getting in any other player's way? What position do they play? Would
Yeah.
they be
The
stopping
famous Wenger quote: "Would it kill someone else's career?"
Yeah, exactly. And I think on the flanks, I think we're pretty well equipped. I think we've got a lot of variety on the flanks, even if you can even throw in there like Reece Nelson. So I'd be wary about bringing in any sort of player that's going to play on the flanks that might impede someone like maybe Saka or Martinelli. Because I'd really like to see, you know, when we move forward, so let's say we have a clean slate next season, I'd really like to see a system which would employ Martinelli or Saka constantly being rotated over the season on the left-hand side to give them the minutes, you know. Sometimes they play in cups, sometimes they're playing in the league. If they can stay fit, you know, it'd be really good to have those two constantly being rotated and being given time and being able to rest when the other one comes in.
Yeah, so with Willian, I think we've all kind of knocked that one on the head a little bit as well. I don't see it as something that they could pursue. But I also heard something, Rohan, that Willian wants to go work for Jose again. He wants to be under Jose Mourinho at Shidehart.
That'll be funny, right? Yeah, that'll be funny, right? Because he was actually due to, if you remember, a few years ago when he came to the Premier League, he had a medical at Tottenham, or he went to Tottenham, and then Chelsea offered him more money, so he went to Chelsea. Like, it was almost like you know, they paid his ticket to England, and then he got poached by Chelsea. So it'll be funny if we get him. In my opinion, he's washed up now. You know, he's had a terrible season. Really, he's had a couple of good games just before the season stopped. I think that he's been here a while. He was a good player for the Premier League a couple of years ago when they had Oscar and Hazard and, you know, all of these guys. But now he's not great, and I wouldn't really be excited by that signing. And that's not the need of the hour, like you guys said, right? Like you know, we've got Pepe and Nelson on one side, and we've got Martinelli and Saka on the other side. So, and we can rotate these guys and pretty much play them the season.
We're looking for central midfielders, Stan.
Is someone like Willian going to really offer us that much more than, say, someone like Mkhitaryan, who we're trying to get off the books? It's a similar sort of mould for me, you know?
Yeah. He was terribly out of form like this season, and you know, form can maybe like come back as well, but it's not the need of the hour. Why would we spend anything you know, on them, on these sort of players, when we actually what we need is central midfield, central defense, maybe a right back, you know, a cam, if we are going to pursue that 4-2-3-1 you know, formation. So these are positions that we have to look at.
But I also look at the David Luiz deal and think to myself, well, if that can happen, anything can happen.
Yeah, for real.
And at the last second, with very, very little time to go as well, Stan. But yeah, I remember Rohan. I remember back then when Willian was deciding to come, and he was almost a Tottenham player, and Chelsea gazumped that deal, just like that, you know. I wish Arsenal could move with just speed, apart from David Luiz.
Right. Just remind me, who was that player? Like some legendary Arsenal player, I forget, who was supposed to go to Tottenham, and then they paid for the cab, and he came over to Arsenal with the cab money that was paid by Tottenham. Do you guys know of this story? Who it was?
I heard that story, but I can't remember the player.
It's a great one.
It's a great story. I'm gonna look it up. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Continue though.
Glenn said, let's just get Koulibaly, Decore, and Grealish. No more cheap, unknown players. And that's a good comment, Glenn. And also, maybe a right back. I'm pretty sweet on Max Aarons myself. But
Here's the thing, though. I understand where Glenn's coming from, but I just worry that is Arsenal still a big pool for known players like a Koulibaly? You know, is Decore who's going to be making if he leaves Watford and is going to be making a step up? Is he going to look at Arsenal and think of that as a step up?
I really
think
pray
with the
because I mean I would just love Decore. Like really, I've been craving for this guy. No homo. No offense taken by any of my comments, but no, like Decore is an animal in the midfield, guys. Seriously, a midfield pivot with him and Torreira or him and anybody else, even a Xhaka, for instance. But
and all he would have to do, Stan, is just climb over that fence at the training grounds, switch his shirt. Done deal.
I just worry that we're maybe not as a big pull as we were to go after certain players. You know, if it's us going after, say, Grealish and Man United also sniffing around as well.
Yeah.
You know, is he going to choose us over them?
Yeah, I mean, Tony, what do you think?
I don't think Grealish would come. I think somebody else would entice him to come over us.
Yeah, so you're thinking Man United would have a bigger pull for Grealish. I think Decore, because of the French, the famous French connection, Stan, that he may be willing to come to Arsenal. And Koulibaly, you're right. Why would he look at Arsenal? We've not been in Champions League for how many years now? 3 seasons?
I mean, a good example I'll give is everyone here knows that I'm really hot on Donny van der Beek from Ajax. But I think that we're probably a season too late now in trying to get him, simply because you know, he's had such a great season in the Champions League. Now his stature's gone up, his value's gone up. Now he's valued at around about 60 million euros. Had we maybe taken a look at him at the last season, we probably could have got him at a better price as well. But then you have the problem, as someone mentioned to me, you know, when you still got somebody who's getting 350,000 a week, it's hard to bring in another creative player at the moment and add to that wage bill. So, yeah, someone like Donny van der Beek now, he probably wouldn't come to Arsenal. There's going to be much higher suitors circling around, you know, maybe a Barcelona, maybe a Liverpool.
Wow. Alex says Martinelli was an unknown player as well, so we could do a mixture maybe of known players and unknown players.
If we have to sell to, if we sell to Barcelona or Real Madrid, we should add that Coutinho clause that Liverpool has added, that the next time that they pick up pay like way above the odds, you know, because I understand the pull, but they can't just be sell on fee, or even to buy, they need to pay like over the odds.
Yeah. Alex, move away from marquee signings. Young, hungry players will get us to where we need to go, and I think that's what we need to do. We still have quite a few players, Tony, that are still living high on the hog and fat and happy.
Yeah, we need to get our wages down, and that's why I'm okay with selling it. Aubameyang wanting another 100,000.
And Glenn says player was Petit Rohan. The player was Petit.
Exactly. I was going to complete that story. I just read it up. So if I can. So he said he flew in from Monaco. He met Lord Sugar, and then he said, I need a couple of days to think. Tottenham paid for his cab.
The best couple of days he ever spent, Rohan.
Yeah, and then he went straight from there, diverted the cab, and went to Arsene Wenger's house, where he met David Dean and signed a contract with Arsenal.
All right, Stan. All right, Stan. Imagine you're Emmanuel Petit with those flowing locks back in the day, and you're thinking about going to Tottenham. And you sign for Tottenham, and you win nothing, next to nothing. And you look at Arsenal across the road; they're cleaning up. How do you feel?
It's your own fault, isn't it? It's your own fault. You know,
He
but
was already sold when you said flowing locks.
But we've had quite a few players that have gone between the two teams, right? I remember Pat Jennings going between Tottenham and Arsenal. Obviously, there's Sol Campbell as well.
Sol Campbell was the big one, and
Sol
that was amazing. David Dean comes out, Arsene Wenger comes out. They've got grins like Cheshire Cats, Stan.
Unbelievable.
At the press conference.
To walk away with their captain on a free.
Yeah.
And it was funny because I remember at the time it happened, there was a London tabloid. They had this advertisement. It was a whole page. And it was at the beginning of the page, it was like a small drawing of like the Tottenham Stadium. It was like a child's drawing. I remember at the top of the page, it had like the child's drawing of the Arsenal Stadium. And in between, they had a dotted line going from the Tottenham Stadium to the Arsenal Stadium. And it just said, the reason why Sol Campbell left, this is the quickest way into Europe. And it was like leading to the... well, I'll always remember that. It was like a whole page in the newspaper. I think it was like a sports company doing it or something like that.
Somebody should actually paint the streets and put arrows going from Shidehart Lane to the Emirates.
Yeah. Arsene Wenger said this was a quote I read a couple of days ago. Again, it surfaced, and he was asked whether Tottenham have closed the gap or overtaken Arsenal, and he said the last time I read, the distance was still 4 miles and 11 titles.
Yes, and that's only likely to grow. And most of those were in color, Tony, not black and white. Mahir, London will be forever red.
Forever red. Forever and ever. I don't think those guys will win anything, any silverware anytime soon. Which, I mean, for us, it's just fantastic, you know. If we can manage to pick up in the next few years and do a proper rebuild, you know, they give Arteta the money and the faith that he will succeed. Because with the way he's going, it's on an upward trajectory. Right, guys? Yeah. I'm sure you guys will agree with me with what he's doing right now. He's getting the morale together, man.
Yeah, that's the only way it's up. And Stan, but we have to. Tottenham is not going to be our standard bearer in terms of our ambitions, right?
No, and they never should be either.
Never should be.
You know, we should be setting our sights a lot higher than Tottenham.
Yeah, yeah. Any other players that moved the? Go ahead, Rohan.
Even Chelsea, you know, this London is red sort of, you know, the statement that we have, you know, Chelsea seem to have the counter now that, you know, do you have a Champions League, or in the recent past, how many have you won and all of that? But still, you know, you can't compensate like one Champions League with, you know, I think the 8 titles that's between us, and 7 or 8 titles that's between us, and then, you know, the FA Cups that we have and the Invincibles that we have, and we've had like periods of such, just been one period since Abramovich came over. So, you know, I don't believe in this BS from Chelsea fans that you know, London is blue. You know, it's not.
Yeah, my timing is off there, Rumpelstiltskin. He just went out of frame the minute I put that up. But as soon as Gundy News comes back, I'm going to hit him up with that.
He's making a green screen.
I think it's, isn't it not origami?
All right, Matt, here. What are you doing? What have you been doing for the last 15 minutes? We've been trying to have conversation here.
No, I'm listening and taking everything in, because some of these things are so entertaining, like the Petit story. My goodness. Like, seriously, to try a player like that, like, everything's already been signed.
What's your side business there? What are you making while you're
oh, you guys want to know exactly what I'm doing? I'm changing a coil for a vape. That's what I'm doing.
Ah,
All right, I'm not sure, but I think YouTube have some strict rules against such things.
No, it's not illegal. Yeah, guys, but hey, man, like seriously, how are we all keeping occupied during this time when there is no football on?
Yeah, so listen, I'll go first. I took up on Friday night Rohan's recommendation of YouTube, Truly Madly Wembley, right? So it is a BBC documentary about, I don't know why an Arsenal fan would marry an Aston Villa fan, but they did. And you just see the pain of the Aston Villa fans while Arsenal trounced them 4-0 in the FA Cup in 2015. So if anyone's missing the fancy footwork of Santi Cazorla, the sometimes good finishing of Theo Walcott, and the consistency of Alexis Sanchez, it's all right there to see. So that's what. Check that out on YouTube. And more recently, Stan last time had given me the recommendation of Formula One on Netflix, Drive to Survive. Very, very good if you're into Formula One motorsports. Uh, it doesn't just show, right, Stan? It doesn't show all of the big teams. It just does show the smaller teams and how they're all the behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean, last season, the three big teams, Red Bull, Mercedes, and Ferrari, you don't see them on it at all. But you said that you've just come to the end now of season one. When you start season two, they do have the big teams featured more in it. I don't know if it's the case with the big teams looked at season one and saw that it was actually a quality show, and obviously good to raise their profile because they're featured quite heavily in season two now.
Yeah. And Mahir, I think you know this challenge where you keep Yuppie on the toilet rolls. I think Mahir is fashioning some kind of robotic mechanism to help him do that challenge.
Yeah, guys, I mean, it's really important, in today's time to keep things very light-hearted. That's why we have these type of podcasts,
And a shout out to the co-host Mahir. He is one of those people who does have affinity for people who are in different situations than him. So a good bloke you are, Mahir.
Thank you. I try to be as much of a people's person as possible. I
You
grew
are
up
a people person.
I
Tony.
grew up in the hospitality industry, so to take care of people was almost like my job. I get enjoyment from that.
Yeah. Big up to you, Mahir. Tony, what are you doing? Not now, but what have you been doing in recent days?
Other than that, I watched some Aussie rules football, and other than that, I've been rewatching Carnival Row on Amazon.
Rohan, what are you into now?
yesterday I saw the highlights of a couple of Champions League matches that we were in, and this was the AC Milan versus Arsenal one, in which Van Persie tried to chip in the second half, and it just reminded me of when I was in law school, and the second leg was starting, and I was telling my friend there's no chance, and and then he said that let's watch it still, let's watch it, and then the first goal went in, second goal, and they had so many chances there, and I was just remembering that he said that today they cannot score a goal. Whatever happens, AC Milan cannot score today. There's some supernatural power in our goal right now. They cannot score. I just got reminded, and then I continued that with some more pain to watch the Barcelona one, in which Van Persie got the red. And so, so I've been giving myself some extra pain in this time. But
you don't need that.
As
an Arsenal fan, we don't need anymore.
Yeah, but at least like competing with the elite, right? Yeah, you were still competing with the elite, and that's the stage that you want to be. I definitely don't want to rewatch the last couple of seasons when we were playing Bayern and they were belting us.
No.
Then that was just painful. That's that. Before that there was some competition. We were losing by that odd goal, right? Like, but then Bayern absolutely like destroyed us. So that was that. I recently watched Parasite. If you guys have seen that movie, if you haven't, this was the Oscar winning movie for this year. It's a South Korean movie about two families, and
Right.
I don't want to give up too much details,
Cleaned up at the
but it's
Oscars
a
a little bit.
brilliant movie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Picked up a couple of
but it's
Oscars.
a correct. And in fact, this was the first international movie in Korean, actually. So not a Hollywood movie to win the best movie, category. Not the international movie, but the best movie category, and it's actually really good, and the talent that's there, it's a really nice movie. So I caught up on that. So
Yeah.
Haunting of Hill House on Netflix. So that's
Right.
another one that I've just finished. So yeah, couple of
So
things.
yeah, let's. I want to go back to the Milan game, the AC Milan game, because Stan, we messed up the first leg royally in that tie.
What was that? Sorry.
We lost something like 4-0 or
4-0. 4-0.
4-0 in the San Siro in the first
Yeah.
leg, and we were 4-0 down. Took it back to the second leg at the Emirates, and we won what 3-0, Rohan? We won
We were 3-0
3-0.
up in the first half.
Yeah, 3-0 up in the first half, and then Van Persie tried to lift it over the goalkeeper when it was probably easier just to slide it underneath the keeper's body at the time, But it's so Arsenal to have such a bad first leg and then come back like a heroic defeat, not here.
Yeah, you've done that a lot of times.
Heroic. You know how heartbreaking that was? It broke all of us to pieces. But we still remain Gooners through and through, up until now.
Yeah, I mean, so much of glorious defeat. That's been the trend, right? Over the last 10, 12 years, just like being this close, even against Monaco, when we got that favorable tie and we messed up the second leg. And in fact, the first leg, they were 2-0 up and we got a goal back. Oxlade-Chamberlain, I remember, hit a curler from outside. We got a goal back and we still tried to get the second goal away and we conceded the third one. So it ended 3-1 and then we lost,
All right,
So
so
Arsenal-like.
so everyone on the panel, this opens up a bigger conversation that I know Tony has been going back and forth, and I have been going back and forth with hopes on this one. Opens up a bigger conversation. If it means embarrassment, such as 5-1s and 4-1s and 4-0s against the elite in Europe, are you willing to be involved in the Champions League again? If that's the case, at least initially, the first season, second season, you're going to lose 5-1 against Bayern. Barca is going to beat you 4-2. And I can go first if you want. I'm willing to be back in the Champions League if it means that. Let's get back to where we were at least a few years ago. And I see Rohan doesn't really want to touch this question.
No,
Mahir,
I'll pick it up.
you're the co-host. You go next.
Okay. Yeah, like I've said, it's quite a challenges and disadvantages. Right now, what I would love for us to do is actually build a team somehow based on passionate young players, and actually more or less mount Premier League, a Premier League challenge if it's possible, rather than for us to be in the Champions League and
Yeah.
getting
Is that
one.
more important to you than challenge for the league? Because they
Yeah,
probably go hand in hand, but challenge for the league. And I
challenge
can
for
open up that question a little bit further. I think that's a good point, Mahir.
challenge for the league. But if you do get into Champions League, though, you do get a lot of money, which you can go out there and attract the most elite players in the world. You know.
Yeah, but do you want to get into the Champions League if we're not prepared? That may be the crux of the question. No,
No, no.
I want to get into the Champions League even if we're not prepared on the field. Tony, you're next because Hopes will be watching this.
Yeah, I definitely want us to be playing in the Champions League. And like last year, Tottenham finished only a point ahead of us and got to the finals of the Champions League. So
Yeah.
I don't care if we end up getting embarrassed to get back there.
Okay, I'll leave Stan or Rohan. Stan?
Well, Arsenal's a club that runs on a self-sustaining model. So the only way that we're going to win the league is by being in the Champions League, because by being in the Champions League, we'll make more money so that we can buy better players. And by playing in the Champions League, we then, what I was saying earlier about attracting certain players, if you're in the Champions League, then we could be a better prospect of players like your Grealishes, your Doucourés, your Koulibalys. So whether we're ready or not to be in it, got to be in it. As my old man used to say, you've got to be in it to win it, right?
Got to be in it to win it.
Exactly.
And Ruppelforskin has said he doesn't think that Arsenal are ready for Champions League. I don't think any of us are saying we're actually ready for a Champions League right now. You know, but I would still, if we're the best of the rest when this thing gets started up again, like a Chelsea or Man United are right now, where the position they're in right now, then we have to try for it. You know.
We have to be so careful because it's like, what, 3 seasons now that we've been in the Europa League. What happens if we don't qualify for the Europa League and then we go to the next stage where we're like 3 or 4 seasons where we're not in Europe at all? Then we become a mid-table side because we're a self-sustaining model. You know, there's certain players that whether you love them or not, they'll have to go because we won't be able to afford to pay their wages.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's a real catch-22. It's a real catch-22. So, Stan, maybe if we turn the team over and get younger players, they can grow with the team.
Hopefully.
You know?
Hopefully,
Okay.
You're selling a rebuild, right? And you know, and that's why I always get annoyed when I hear players saying, yeah, well, if you're not in Europe, then I might have to leave. I'm like, well, we're not there yet. You should be saying, I'm going to do everything I can to try and get us into Europe. Yeah. Then when we don't get there, then think about leaving. But when you're saying it already, that's not the sort of mentality that I want, you know? Yeah. If you're going to buy players and you know, a player's going, well, why should I come to Arsenal? You know, you're in the Europa League. The way you sell it is, the way that you frame it is, well, that's why we want players like you, because we believe that by having you on board, you'll help us get to that next level. You've got to big them up a little bit. You've got to massage the egos.
All right, Carl says, I would love to be back in Champions League, but to be honest, the first beating we make, I would probably change my mind. Anyway, I can't see us back in it for a long time. Okay, Sarah. Hopefully, we'll be back there pretty soon, but yeah, we're still in that situation, Rohan, where we're not good enough yet, maybe, to be in Champions League, but we have to try for it. What do you think?
No, definitely. I mean, we've already touched on the economics of it, that we need the money. And I don't want to be playing against teams that are traditionally my Wi-Fi password, right? Like, I don't want to know names of teams and players who, yeah, like, you know, I don't want to go to Azerbaijan or like things like that. You know, the fun of it is that, you know, football is all about believing, right? We always made it through to the round of 16, which means that theoretically our season was still on till February, which meant that we could still dream until February. And there was that excitement of, you know, we're going to play a Barcelona, we're going to play a Bayern Munich. And, you know, of course, when the game started, you know, it was something else. But, you know, even for the fans, you know, for the club itself, it's so important to be back in the Champions League. You know, you have to be playing against the elite, and nobody's saying that you're going to win it. But you don't need to be hammered 5-1. That's a fear that's been ingrained into us, but that's our own undoing. Like, teams go against
Yeah.
each other, and they're typically not at equal footing, but they don't get hammered like that because we are naive. And you could lose by a couple of goals if we play, Bayern Munich or Barcelona, Real Madrid. We will lose, over a set of games. There's more of a chance of us losing than winning, but it doesn't need to be a cricket score, right? It can still be
No.
competitive if you're compact, if you try to, play as, that team. But again, now one thing that's interesting is that we were in the Champions League for like 20 seasons, and
I
nobody
was just going
gave
to bring this
any
point up
credit.
to Stan. Yeah, go ahead.
Nobody gave any credit for that. And it wasn't like we're in the Champions League, we can attract whoever. That was never the case. But now that we are not in the Champions League, everybody seems to say that we can't attract any talent. I think this whole issue is given more importance than it actually has. If it were so important, then Manchester United would not players that they are getting. It's about paying a premium, and we can pay the premium. We need to keep those elite players along with the youngsters to ensure that we are competing in Europe. Just by youngsters, we had that British core, right, which were at that time we thought were promising youngsters. What happened
Okay.
to that?
Yeah. They turned out to be just okay, right, Stan?
Yeah, I mean, when we were in the Champions League regularly, I thought, we were a bigger draw. We were always talking to players, but the problem was that Arsenal was very miserly with how he spent the money, and we'd always lose out. Look at Joan Mata. That was supposed to be a nailed-on deal, but we dragged. We couldn't get stuff sorted out. He went somewhere else. It's happened so many times to us.
Yeah. And you know what, folks? There is a situation where you have to learn in the Champions League as a team. And we never had to experience that relearning because we haven't gone back in there. And we were in it for 20-some seasons in a row. So we knew what it was like to play in the elite of Europe and punch just about our weight. We probably never really punched above our weight until we got to the final. I'd say we were probably punching above our weight at that point. But there is a learning curve, Stan, for teams to learn how to play in Europe again. It's a different kind of competition. And if we get in next year, we're going to have to learn all over again, season on season.
But what you were just saying there about playing with the elite in Europe, about 2-3 years ago, the talk started to resurface. I don't know if you heard it, where they were talking about a breakaway Europe League. So 3 or 4 teams would probably lead the Premier League, 3 or 4 teams from Italy, Spain, Germany, and form a European Super League. And at the time, when it was being mentioned, they already had the teams in mind from each country that would make up this league, and we were on the list.
We were.
I think there was
Not
like
anymore.
4 teams.
We're scratched off now.
I remember Tottenham wasn't on the list. I remember chuckling to myself, and I don't want to break away European League, but I did like it that they didn't make the list.
Yeah.
If they were going to do it tomorrow now, if they decided that they were going to make this league tomorrow, would we be in the top 3 or 4 teams from the Premier League to be selected for that?
No.
I don't think so.
We probably wouldn't be in the next list of 4 either.
So if you look at that, I'm just saying, if you look at that, that's quite a stark realization about where we really are at the moment.
Yeah. Mahir, not to put Tony in the firing line here, but Mahir, this is addressed to you. Hopes is the one person who will say, let's not get into the Champions League until we can actually win the league, probably 2 years run until we have the team that can do that. That's Hope's point of view. Arsenal were the best team in England between, say, 2000, maybe 1999 till 2003. And we never really got to the promised land of the Champions League final during those years when we had one of the best teams in the land. Best teams does not guarantee you getting to the Champions League final. I'm not trying to lead you. Is that what you believe as well?
I believe that. I believe that as well. Depends on a lot of things that make your side one of the elite sides in the world. One of those things is also somebody like man management, for example. Not playing the players in the wrong position and playing them out of position all the time, or not using them when you need them the most, as per se. Need them the most. I mean, you remember when Leicester won the title, guys? Do you
Mhm.
know, you guys, I'm sure knew this, but Giroud went on a 16 game goal drought.
Probably longer than that. I think it was 21 games,
I think it was 20 something
20
games.
something. Yeah,
Yeah. But
no goals, and they weren't all against the top six.
exactly the point is man management. That's also another big issue. We've seen a lot of this also in recent times. Playing somebody like, just because we have to in emergency case play Xhaka at centre back, or somebody that plays in defense playing on the wing, or I mean, it is ridiculous.
And correct me if I'm wrong. Did Alexis Sanchez come to Arsenal this summer that we came second to Leicester? That sounds about right to me, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
That was the World Cup summer, right? 2016.
Or was Alexis Sanchez already in the team when? Yeah, he was probably already in the team, and he didn't. Maybe he was injured or something. I don't know what happened to Alexi and that. Anyway, we only paid for Peter Cech that season. Everyone knows that at this point. Everyone and their dogs. But yeah, another comment from Carl. Higuain was supposed to be on the plane, but Arsene wouldn't pay Real Madrid the extra. And David Dean was instrumental in securing deals in the past. But so, where do we chart the demise of Arsenal? There's a couple of different reasons. It's David Dean is not around. Stan Kroenke arrives, and I think Arsene Wenger becomes more of an economist, Rohan, than a football manager.
That's his greatness and that's his stupidity in one go, right?
Nutshell.
Like
Yeah.
because if you see, I feel that Arsene Wenger, like I'm a big supporter of him, and I would never like go out and say Wenger out, that sort of a situation. But he probably should have left after the first FA Cup win against Hull. But if you look at it, he always tried to put the team first, right? Sir Alex, his his major buy that he made in his last season was Van Persie, who was injury prone, who was close to 30, I think maybe almost 30 at that time. But he did it because he knew that that would win him the title. And then when he went away, the team was in shambles after that. If you have, it's like a car or a bike that doesn't have its brakes properly on. It needs maintenance. You can probably
Yeah.
ride it, but if you give it to someone else, that person's going to crash. And that's how he left the team. And Arsene Wenger left the team in a much better state, in my
You know
opinion,
why?
with
You know
the
why,
youngsters
Rohan?
there.
It's
Why is
gonna
that?
crash because there's no handbrake. That was just a Wenger joke. Sorry. Couldn't
Exactly.
resist.
So that given that, if I were Wenger, I would be like, this is my chance to win the league.
Yeah.
In January, go out and spend and get that striker, seal the league, and that's gonna seal my reputation and my legacy. But he probably kept Arsenal ahead of himself, or maybe that's his stupidity. Maybe I'm bigging him up too much, and he didn't go for it, and that's
Very,
why we
very,
lost it.
very, very frustrating, Tony. Um, every summer, every January window would go by, and Arsene Wenger would only get the mere just enough to get us through the season to be top four material. Very frustrating.
Yeah, but later
And
on, when we finally did start buying players, is already too late.
yeah,
If
all
I
right.
did that in 2010 or so, we'd be in a lot better place than we ended up being.
let's move on before we get accused of bashing Wenger too much, you know, because definitely we have to pay homage to him for.
Of course.
We know how difficult it is right now to get into the top four. So doing that 20 some seasons in a row, big up to Arsenal. And the first 10 or 12 years were fantastic, Stan. But after that, he just lost the goodwill of the fans.
Yeah, and like what you were saying there about maybe he should have gone after the FA Cup with Hull. I seem to remember reading that. I think that was actually in his mind, and it was the club that asked him to stay on.
They weren't in a position. Some people say, yeah.
And I think Arsenal's always came across to me as someone that doesn't know how to say no, even if it might be best for him. If someone's asking him and they're saying like, you know, we really need your help at the moment. You know, the club really rely on you through these times. We'd like you to stay in for a year or two.
For stability.
Even if he has a gut feeling that it's probably time for him to go, he seems like he's the sort of person that just didn't know how to say no. Or
Plus,
no.
Yeah. Or to not take that money. But that's just everyone would do that in that situation. I don't think anyone would say no to that. Listen, we did this last week, and we're going to pick up the thread again. Arsenal trivia play along. So, people in the comments, get involved. I'm sorry for the younger ones. I wasn't able to find too many newer or more recent questions. So, Rohan and I here, you're going to struggle a little bit, perhaps.
Maybe.
All right, here's the first question. Arsenal played for the first time in the UEFA Champions League, actually in 1998. What was significant about the home games? And people in the comments play along as well.
I have an idea. It's a guess.
Plus, if there's any talking points around this and the answers, we'll go into some depth as well on those, you know.
Was it?
Here?
Okay.
Stan, go.
I was going to say, was it because we had that mural up with the crowd painting in it?
No, that was earlier in the Ian Wright days. So we're talking about Thierry Henry. I think it was probably the first season with Thierry Henry. Because remember, a couple of seasons before, Dennis Bergkamp had scored that goal in the last day of the season to get us into the UEFA Cup. We played a couple of seasons in the UEFA before we became, we got into the Champions League around 1998. Tony, you haven't got this?
No idea.
All right, we have a correct answer in the comments section. Big up, Carol. Played at Wembley.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And Tottenham tried to do that more recently as well, Stan. It didn't work out so well for them.
Yeah. I have a terrible memory when it's like scores and things like that. I mean, I'm sitting in there thinking like, did you play at Wembley? Where was I?
Well, kudos to the answers in the comment there. I remember Luzhny, Oleg Luzhny.
Oh yeah, I remember him.
We were playing against Dynamo Kiev, I think it was, and it was a 1-1. We didn't have great results. We were playing at Wembley. We did not have great results, but we probably made quite a few bob out of it, Stan.
Yeah.
All right, let's roll on to the next question. The panel are terrible at this. When Ian Wright beat Cliff Baston's record for goals scored, what was written under his shirt? Tony, I feel like you might know this.
Nope, no idea.
Stan, you're my only hope.
He had the number, didn't he? Didn't he take it up one goal early? He scored 2 goals in the game, didn't he? And the first goal wasn't it the first goal put him level with Baston's, and then the next goal that put him over.
Correct.
And he lifted up his top, and he had the number on it. It was like 175 or 6.
179.
79. And he took it up
Yeah.
1 goal early.
Yeah. Do you know what it said on the shirt?
179?
Yeah, 179, but there was actually 3 words.
I remember seeing it also, and I just can't get that.
3 words.
Has a little play on the sponsorship that he was involved with. He had a sponsor.
Just do it.
Yes, just done it.
Just done it.
Just done
Just done it. Oh,
Big up, Mahir. 1 point. 1 point from Mahir. But yeah, he went on to score a hat trick from that game as well. And it was one of those games where we were scoring goals for fun, and Ian Wright was scoring goals for fun. Score 179 goals and beat Cliff Baston's wartime record was no mean feat. And we didn't know that someone would go on to beat that record, and then Thierry Henry went on to beat that record. Stan, you remember how many goals from last week Thierry Henry scored?
Do I remember what his goal tally was?
That's probably unfair because you just said you're terrible with memory on those things, right?
But I do remember that the Cliff Baston record, though. I mean, it'd been so long that it had stood. And then for Ian Wright to finally break it, and then for another player to come along quite quickly to break it again, I was quite surprised.
Do you think Thierry Henry's, and do you remember what Thierry Henry's middle name is now from last week, Tony? That would be a no.
Come on, Tony.
Can't Google it now, Tony. We love you, Tony. We love you. Am I here?
Daniel.
Daniel. Not Danielle.
Daniel son.
Daniel's son. Okay. Big up Mahir. He's got 1 point on the board already.
Hey, I'm trying to keep up somehow.
I thought this was an interesting question because how many of our team now could actually win a European Championship with their team other than Granit Xhaka? He's very capable of winning with Switzerland, right, Tony?
Don't think so.
All right, so we have how many of France's team winning Euro 2000 were in Arsenal's squad? It's a difficult one, but it's just designed to have a little bit of banter.
5.
Close. Can you name them? Oh, Mahir. 6. Correct.
he's on a
You
roll.
gotta name them.
I promise I didn't supply Mahir, the co-host, any of these questions. I promise.
He's
All right,
working.
Mahir. You got the right answer. Now you're too young, but can you actually name some of these players, Mahir?
I think I know of 2 maybe. Obviously Henry and Vieira. I'm not sure if I can get the other ones.
Vieira, Henry, Petit, Perez. Correct.
Sylvain Wiltord.
All of those are correct, and we need 2 more.
Sylvain Wiltord.
Well done, Carol. Yes, Wiltord. Well done, Stan. 1 more.
And the other one would.
We talked about him last week.
No.
He probably holds the record of Stan. This last player probably holds the record of how many percentage in transfer value we extracted.
Anelka.
Anelka. Yeah. Wiltord, Perez, Vieira, Henry, Anelka, Petit. And we've only got 1 in our team, Granit Xhaka, who could probably win a championship for his country right now, Tony. And
So
Pablo
this
Marie.
was right. This was an interesting thing somebody posted on Twitter, right? Like we talking about, and we always talk about the pull that Arsenal has in the French market. And right now, considering that France won the World Cup and they have, this is the golden generation, we could say, because they have won the World Cup. How come we don't have any of those from the golden generation if we have such a big pull?
Exactly. That's kind of why I put this question up, because it makes us realize, well, as if we didn't know already, where we are now and where we were. You know.
Traditionally, Arsenal would always have a few players, at least a few players, playing for the English national side, right?
Yes.
I remember one England game where we had 3 of the back 4 playing with Winterburn on the bench.
Yes. Yeah.
What a legend.
Okay, so what players could make the England team? Saka, if he doesn't declare for Nigeria, he could make the England team, right?
Yeah.
Anyone else? Not really anyone else from the Arsenal team. Maybe Nelson, Reece Nelson.
Yeah, maybe.
I'd like to see.
We can't even make the Arsenal team right now.
Maybe Rob Holding.
I was going to say, don't laugh.
Maybe Rob Holding after a long run of games.
Yeah. I was going to say Rob Holdings then.
You're right, Rohan. You have to get into the Arsenal team first. Unless you're Theo Walcott, you can get to World Cup without doing that. Theo, happy birthday, Theo. 31 years old. Stan, you'd like to see maybe Rob Holding?
Yeah, if we can, if he has a long run of games, that's what I'd like to see. More of Rob Holding, a fit Rob Holding. I think maybe he could play an important part for us next season. And I also think Callum Chambers still has a future as well. I think both Holding and Chambers have still got a future at Arsenal and can still play a part.
I was a little bit worried about Chambers under Emery, and I think Emery was kind of forced to use him. But definitely under Arteta, there's a chance again for Chambers. But Carl said England is full of Spurs players. I can't shout, "Come on, Harry!" And I have to ask you, Stan, how difficult it is to shout on England with all those Spurs players in there.
I don't really watch them anymore, to be honest. I don't.
Yeah. But maybe, do you think Arsenal could sign Harry Kane, and would they sign Harry Kane? Maher. He's past it now, right? He has to be.
He's still banging in a lot of goals, though. But what I can say is,
wishful thinking.
At some point, and I think it's not too far away, he's going to be playing on the continent somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
It's obviously got to be the next move for him, right? He's not going to go. The only other team I would see him going to in the Premier League is possibly Man United.
Yeah. We touched on this a little bit earlier as well about how bad Tottenham have been historically, not just traditionally, historically, year on year. And those Spurs players, they're not going to win anything, Rohan. So
they're not. And, with Poch, they had some sort of momentum going, but they've pressed the self-destruct button.
Yeah. We've seen players leave already, Tony, like Trippier went to Atletico Madrid.
Yeah, there's
on his home.
chances there for now.
I think Pochettino stretched that team as far as he could. He squeezed every last little drop out of that team.
I think, Maher, you just revealed your superpowers. You can actually, and your anti-gravity, Maher. You can sit sideways on the walls.
Like Rohan said, like Tony said, we've all discussed. These guys are bottlers, and they basically bottled having somebody like Pochettino who was taking them to the next level. Would I take Harry Kane? I would take Harry Kane, but I don't think he would move to Arsenal.
For a diving
Yeah.
competition.
I don't even want to. If I had no other thing to talk about, Tony, I wouldn't talk about which Spurs players we'd take.
We've already let him go, though, didn't we? He was at Arsenal when he was a kid.
Yeah.
Who's that?
Harry Kane, we've let him go once already. He was at Arsenal when he was a little kid,
Yeah.
wasn't
Yeah.
But would we have been happy if Pochettino was appointed instead of Arteta?
No.
Well,
I don't
I
think
would
I
have
would have been happy with that, Rohan. A lot
Mixed
of people
feelings.
wanted it.
Yeah, we were saying let's not take in Arteta, but we had no idea of the sort of experience he gained from coaching world-class players at City and also being second in command because, as you've seen with Man City, they actually have fallen off since he left them to come to us.
Yeah. All right, that was a good bit of side conversation about the scum. Next question. Which Arsenal player was Rohan looks like he's happy he knows this answer, I think. Which Arsenal player was inspirational in Spain winning Euro 2008?
Fabregas.
Yeah, quite easy because it's about the only Spanish player we had at that time. And he was quite inspirational for us, let alone Spain. Worked very, very well with Iniesta and Xavi. That was a super Spain team.
I
That
mean,
was mad.
can you feel having a partnership of Xavi and Iniesta and you being that third piece of the puzzle? God, my goodness. If only.
Yeah, a great, great team that went on to win the World Cup, right, in 2010 as well.
Yeah.
Was that in South Africa?
Yeah, it was nothing that special though, that World Cup. Because I watched I watched few games live here, directly where I am right now. And I watched it on a rerun, like just watch the World Cup, what happened in 2010. And to be honest with you guys, it was really nothing that special. Not many goals.
I thought it was a memorable World Cup. I mean, if you're going to tell me about South Africa in 2010, I'm going to say Vuvuzela.
I was just thinking, they're everywhere.
The most annoying thing ever. If you blow that thing near me, you're going to get a backhand and front hand. I won't apologize about it. Don't blow that thing near. It's like I know it's to bring atmosphere, but to be honest with you guys, after about 5 minutes, it's so bloody annoying. It's like, oh my god, who invented this thing?
Mayor, do you have one in the house?
No, I do not have one.
Or,
I've never owned one.
I'm not gonna tell you to go to the shops and buy one, but
We can make one real fast for you.
No,
I know.
I owned one. I never bought one. I never got given one as a gift. I haven't even blown a vuvuzela ever.
I hear you can make them out of used toilet roll. So
I've blown a vuvuzela, much to my missus's annoyance.
But Stan, that was on purpose. If I were to annoy my enemy, I'd probably sneak up on him and blow it in his ear. So he can go, dead.
So for me, and I know Stan, you have to go, so just duck out whenever you're ready to go. That's fine, absolutely fine. And you're going to be on another podcast soon, right? Ryan over at Mr. Arsenal.
Yeah, we're going to be on there in about half hour or so.
Half hour. Go over to see Stan and Ryan on Mr. Arsenal podcast on YouTube as well.
And I think Glenn's also on there, New York Glenn.
Oh yeah, that should be an entertaining one, Stan.
Very entertaining.
Yeah. So
What's that?
That's a Vuvuzela. He's got one,
Tony's
Mahir?
got, it looks more
Looks like an exhaust pipe.
it looks more like a didgeridoo. Is that a didgeridoo?
It is.
Did you steal an exhaust pipe somewhere?
No, it's a didgeridoo.
And you know what? You better be careful. Hoax will take a screenshot and use it against you.
Is it a mouthpiece from your bong?
No, that's in my closet.
Yeah. Mahir and Tony are going into business. Mahir is making the front part of it, and Tony's making the back part of it.
Too good, guys. Too good.
Oh my God. Mahir,
I'm going to say goodbye now because I
all
want
right,
to have.
Stan.
I've not had any
Thanks.
breakfast yet, so I want to grab something to eat.
You got to get in the makeup room as well for your next podcast, right?
Okay, all right. Listen, thanks for having me on. Nice to talk to you all again. And also, as well, I almost forgot. Happy Mother's Day to any mothers that might be watching. It's Mother's Day. We celebrate it in it's the UK one.
Ireland too. South Africa also.
So I almost forgot. If you're watching, Mum, happy Mother's Day.
Yeah.
Big
All
up
right,
to everybody and everybody's.
Thanks, Stan. Take care. Yeah.
Take care.
I want to. Thanks, Stan. Yeah, I want to say I gathered all my siblings on the WhatsApp group and called my mom in Ireland and wished her a happy Mother's Day. So, happy Mother's Day to my mother and all the mothers out there. You know, not to get too down, but a lot of them are on the front lines. A lot of them are in the healthcare system and are fighting this nasty thing that's going on around the world today. So, not just today, but it's been going around. It's going to be happening. And my public health announcement is please do the world a service. Isolate as much as possible in your own home and stop this thing from spreading where it's not going to be an issue for most healthy people, but the elderly will be the people who end up in hospitals, and those people on front line will have horrendous psychological issues trying to deal with that tough decisions they're going to have to make. So please, everyone who's younger, please share the message. We need to isolate. We need to keep our social distancing going. But let's get into a couple more questions, and then we'll get out of here. Which Arsenal centre-back conceded a penalty from which Ruud van Nistelrooy hit the crossbar? And this was in 2005. I believe it was 2005, maybe 2004, Rohan.
2004, because it was still our winning run continuing, right?
Yeah. So Manchester United had this opportunity. I'm sure Alex Ferguson was getting pissed off about this Arsenal team who was winning and continue to win games. And they were going to beat us at all costs in that game. And it was quite a contentious game. And does anyone have the answer? Mahir?
I'm going to go with somebody more recent. So I would say Mertesacker.
And everyone on the right hand of your screen, those two guys are the younger ones. So we have to cut them a bit of a break, right, Tony? It's on you, Tony. The answer is... All right, Carol, you're right. Martin Keown. Well, remember.
Yeah,
Martin.
I mean,
Go ahead.
Keown, like, what is legendary, but from that is after he missed the penalty, then Keown coming and shoving him at the back. I watched that game. That was like when my Arsenal like supporting thing started, and that was one of the iconic games, right? When Martin Keown comes from the back, shoves him, and that was the Arsenal team. That was the rivalry that was going on, and we absolutely dominated them, right?
Yeah, yes. We absolutely dominated them. I think it was very contentious with Vieira, and those games were so different back in the day because they hated each other so much. Arsene Wenger and Alex Ferguson hated each other so much. So much so that I found it actually weird, Tony, that they became friends over time. Probably the friendship started again when we sold Van Persie to Manchester United. When Ferguson probably said, you know what, that Wenger, he's not so bad after all. He gave me a world-class striker. I won the league and retired.
Thank you.
A cynic's way.
Yes, Rohan?
A cynic's way of looking at it is that Sir Alex always had these rivalries with people who he thought were his competitors, and then once they weren't, then he sort of was friendly with them. Look at his rivalry with Rafa Benitez or with Wenger. That's a cynic's view of it.
I think it's
you know,
you're right. It's a cynical view, but I think you're right on the money there as well. When Arsene Wenger came, and the media started lauding him as the new guy, because there had been up until Wenger came along, there had been no foreign coaches coming into the English game. Alex Ferguson ruled the roost and had been for quite a few years, and here was this Wenger guy, the professor, who was getting all the media. And that's just the tough thing we all have to grapple with Arsene Wenger. He was such a great manager in the first 10, 12 years. You've seen, I don't know if you remember Kevin Keegan, Tony, and how he just wilted. That Newcastle team just wilted under Alex Ferguson. Right, Rohan?
I would love it. I would love it if we beat them.
I tell you, he went too far. And that's just not right. And Ferguson must have been laughing with whiskey or scotch or something back at his home when he was watching all of that, And
the pressure is getting to them.
Wenger was unflappable. I will give him that. In those tussles with Manchester United, he was unflappable and could not be. Our team also were full of leaders and characters, and we could not be dictated to by this Manchester United team, But good days. Next question. This will be a good one. I did not know the answer to this question. During World War II, where did Arsenal play their home games? In the 40s. And I think this is probably the last question.
If I was gonna guess, guys, a wild guess, I would say on a soccer pitch.
There's Matt here wanting to keep his record intact. On grass. I still remember. I'm old enough to remember Brian Clough, who was a famous manager for Nottingham Forest, and at the time Wimbledon were a team who were coming strong, and they played lots of aerial balls on like lots of high balls into the box, percentage play that Sam Allardyce would pick up on later, and Brian Clough remembered, if God wanted us to play football like that, we'd be playing on the clouds, in the clouds. No, you have a pitch, right? You play football on the pitch, not high balls into the box. But interestingly, during World War II,
We shared it with Tottenham,
Scheidhart
Lane.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say maybe a rival or one of our competitors, these stadiums. Maybe
Carol had the answer as well.
At that dreadful place up the road. Shout out, Carol.
Neither was any of us born then either. Maybe Hopes. He's a sage. He's 700 years old.
Shout out to Hopes, man.
Shout out to Hopes. So probably Hopes is doing something in the community again, which is
probably sleeping after staying up all night
and harassing you. Yeah. Mahir, you got to get involved. We have to protect Tony at times, you know.
It's just been a bit it's been a bit, there's been a bit of chaos the other side as well, because there are some big issues that need to be sorted out, so I've been very, very quiet on this front.
Yeah,
Soon I'll be joining you guys on the banter with on Twitter. Stuff
yeah.
you've been feeling that, I mean, I've got you guys as well, but some things are kept very, how would I say, very close knit with myself. Like I like to keep it
Awesome.
on. Now.
Yeah, thanks, Mahir. Thanks, Rohan, for coming in. Thanks, Tony and Mahir. A little bit of a shorter one today, but nobody wants to watch 2 hours of us either, right? So
Sure they do.
better, it's better to go closer to 1 hour than two. So I've enjoyed this time. Hopefully, it has taken a little bit of your mind off um, more
What's going
difficult
on?
matters that are going on today, right, Mahir?
Yeah,
And
of course.
go ahead, say a few words.
I'd just like to thank Rowan, Tony, and Stan the Man for joining us. They are our regulars. They are part of our family.
Motley crew right now. Yeah, that's what we say.
Yeah, shout out to everybody that's joined us also in for the live stream.
Yeah.
Arsenal trivia and all the banter and stuff that we've discussed. Always be keeping occupied, news on what's going on with our players and finances and player rumors and all that. So yeah, big up to all of you guys. Big up to your families. Much love to your moms as well. Happy Mother's Day to everybody.
Yep.
And
Happy Mother's Day to everybody. And again, I think Sammy might be involved in the medical services. So we want to once again, shout out to those people on the front lines who are dealing with a terrible, terrible pandemic right now. And our thoughts are with you. You're doing a great service for your country and for the world. And listen, we'll be back next week, because I do think, even though we are just a podcast, I think we do provide a service for people to get away from things for a little bit, and we all need a little bit of distraction, right, Rohan?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's lovely for all of our sanity to be together to like sort of talk about a thing that we love, and how we're getting on with our lives, etc. Loving the banter that's going on Twitter. All of this
Yeah.
is great, and this time will pass, and people need something to watch. This trivia section is great as well, and there are some interesting topics that we're talking about, and
Yeah.
I'm happy to see that people have their own views, and everybody's view is just to get the best out of our club, whether it is to sell a player or not, whether it is for us to be in the Champions League or not. All opinions are respected, and this is the thought that we put into it. Just one more thing that I want to put in is that if people want to see something on YouTube like this, I'm sure it'll be on YouTube now. So yesterday, which is still today in the US, etc.
Yeah.
In India was the plea of the Prime Minister was that there should be a curfew, so people stay in from 7 a.m. till 5 p.m. or something, 7 p.m. or something. And what he requested was at 5 p.m. everybody comes to their doors or their balconies, etc., and they clap or they like bang their utensils, etc., for in respect to all the people who are out there, and who are doing stuff, who have to be out there in the pandemic, who all the medical services or the transport or etc., everyone. And there's like so many videos now of people actually just being on their balconies or on their doorsteps, and maybe clapping, or all you can hear, you can't see these people but you can hear them. And that's again solidarity that's coming out, and people are taking it seriously. And that's, if somebody wants to watch it, you can watch it on YouTube. That's what's happening there.
And as well, Rohan, how easy is it for us to do something for other people? And that is to stay indoors as much as possible and not infect other people if we become infected. And if you do, please self-isolate it, and good luck to everybody. Tony, a few final words.
No, just what you just said.
What he said. That's what you're going to say. Point upwards.
That's what he
and
said.
say, point what he said.
I like that.
Hey, thanks for your time. Yes, be safe out there. We all know the protocols at this time. If you see someone not doing the right thing, please share with them, do a service, and tell them what they need to do. And until next time, we're out of here. And thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you soon. Come on, you Gunners. Up the Arsenal.